This is a new song for the Stones of Fire. This is the first time we have ever sung this song in public. And it's about a time in our history when there were 4 words that brought fear and dread to the hearts of our people in the South. And those 4 words were,
in the Mississippi River. Lord, 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 Lord.
They were 4 words that whenever a black person in the South heard a white person say it, that black person knew that something bad had either happened or was going to happen.
In the Mississippi River. Lord, 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 Lord.
During the 1964 Freedom Summer in Mississippi, 3 civil rights workers were found there. In 1955, a 14-year-old boy from Chicago was found there.
In the Mississippi River.
Well, 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 well.
You can count them one by one.
It could be your
and you
son.
can count them 2 by 2.
It could be me
and you can count them 3 by 3.
Do you want to
and
see?
And you can count them 4 by 4. A weller into the river they go. A weller into the river they go. And you can count them 5 by 5.
With their hands
and they
tied.
Don't come out alive.
And their feet tied.
And you can count them 6 by 6.
Holes throughout their bodies.
In Mississippi they got it fixed.
Like Goodman.
And you can count them 7 by 7.
Like Schwerner.
The Mississippi River sure ain't heaven.
And Cheney.
And you can count them 8 by 8.
Sometimes they were our children.
And we are thrown there because of hate.
Like Emmett Till.
And you can count them 9 by 9.
In the Tallahatchie River.
Mississippi there ain't no crime. And you can count them 10 by 10. And we wonder when the right will win. In the Mississippi River. Lord, 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 Lord. In the Mississippi River. Lord, 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 Lord. In the Mississippi River.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
We're gonna stop them.
Stop them.
From going in the river, gonna stop them.
We're gonna stop them.
From going in the river, gonna stop them.
We're gonna stop them.
From going
in the river,
gonna stop them.
With their heads cut off.
From going in the
tied
river,
by the hands. Tied by the feet. In the Mississippi River.
From going in the river, gonna stop them. In the Mississippi River. In the Mississippi River. Lord, 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 Lord. In the Mississippi River. Lord, 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 Lord. In the Mississippi River.
Powerful. Good morning, Wosay family. Before we get started, I just want to say that this is the last Sunday of African Heritage Month / Black History Month. And that opening song was sung by the Stones of Fire out of Oakland. The membership of the Stones was made up of Mama Kanke, Mama Connie, Baba Tai, and myself. It's a somber reminder of the murderous conditions that our people faced in the Jim Crow South, and is meant to honor and acknowledge Blacks and other freedom-loving people such as Medgar Evers, Jimmy Lee Jackson, Viola Luzo, and many, many named and unnamed people who were murdered, lynched in the Jim Crow South. Not just in Mississippi, and most of them, like Michael Swarner, Andrew Goodman, and James Chaney of the song, did not actually end up in the Mississippi River, but it's a metaphor or an allegory. South Africa, they have the song Stimela, sung by Hugh Masekela, very popular, powerful song. And it means more than just a train. It talks about that steam, that steam train that was driving the apartheid movement. So they sing of a train, but it speaks of apartheid. And as we study the Kemetic ways, we see the characterization of several of animals as well as human beings. Heru with a hawk head, not meaning that he was a man or a person walking around with a hawk head, but it is symptomatic of certain powers or things that he had, attributes that he had. And so that song and singing about the Mississippi just kind of spoke of a metaphor for what so many of us went through. They can sing in the Mississippi in Kentucky, in the Mississippi in South Carolina, in the Mississippi in Georgia, based on what has happened to our folks as we struggle for freedom. And I was thinking the other day or this morning about a story I heard, and then I will get on with the service, about during the British wars, they were fighting with one another, and they used to stop for tea time during the wars. And it was tea time, and they were going to go down and bring up some of the commanders to sit and have tea during the middle of the war. And one of the generals said, "Don't worry, I'll go down there and get the commanders to come up, and we shall have tea." And they left, and he came back about a half hour later, and they say when he walked in, this general had a look of terror and shock on his face, and he announced to the group, "My God, do you know they're killing people down there? And he's sending people there." So it's like we have to understand what we're talking about. It is a struggle. So with that said, I hope that you appreciated what we gave out and understood. And if we try and keeping it real. Some of our songs are happy, some of our songs are sad, some of our songs are just history, facts of things that happen. What we believe, our faith statement. Wose is a community of the sacred African way. The way is Ma'at, truth, justice, and righteousness. We believe in the teachings of our elders and our ancestors that the Creator God created the universe and all life and has placed in each of us a part of the divine spirit. God living in us and through us has given us the right and the power to establish peace and justice in all human life and true harmony with all of creation. We believe in the living faith of our ancestors. Ashe. Ashe. And so in the tradition of our people throughout the world, when there's an important gathering, when there is something that involves the entire community that we should all be a part of, we call everyone around. And in the continent, it may have been by the river, it may have been by the baobab tree, it may have been what they call the bantaba, where you come and sit around and gather, and the service is about to begin. With that said, we want to open up, as we did first, with a song to bring all our people together, to put us on that one spiritual accord. Ashe. So right now, with that in mind, it's a time when we're going to light a candle of justice, and I'm going to call on my dear sister, Mama Conke, who was in the opening song in the Mississippi with the Stones of Fire. And I love this sister, and I want to call her forth to help us and light the candle of justice. Ashe?
Ashe, both say family, Uncle Johnson Neb. What a beautiful day. What a beautiful day. I know you probably can see the sunshine a little coming through. Oh, that sun. Woo! Nice, beautiful, bright day. So it's a good time to, to light that bright candle of justice. And in Mama Debbie's prayer, she talked about our health. And I was like, okay, I was wondering I wonder how this is going to fall into service. And I went, there it is. We always hook up, because we just have that kind of energy. But this morning, I just wanted to give a shout out, give a thank you to one of our organizations that have been fighting for our health in regards to the tobacco industry.
Oh, I see.
And that each year smoking related diseases kill more African Americans than AIDS and alcohol and drugs. And so we have an organization called the African American Tobacco Control Leadership Council, aka AATCLC, that was formed in California in 2008. They educate the public about the effects of tobacco on Black American and African immigrants. They educate about the tobacco industry's predatory marketing tactics and the need to regulate flavored tobacco products, including menthol cigarettes. To more effectively reach and save Black lives, they also partner with community stakeholders and public serving agencies to inform and direct tobacco control policies, practices, and priorities. And we know how our communities had been hit, with the used to be the type of advertising for cool cigarettes and billboards all over the place. They used to have 2 times as many billboards in Black communities as they did in whites. 50% more Black men died than white men of lung cancer. And then most recently, we know that they came out with all the e-cigarettes, the flavored inhalers that targeted our youth. And so this organization, most notably, let me get it right. They help create buffer zones in numerous cities, in Chicago, Minneapolis, some California cities. And these buffer zones are local legislation that prohibit the sale of flavored tobacco products, including menthol, which is one of our #1 killers, is the menthol tobacco products, within a 500 to 1,000 foot perimeter around schools, trying to protect and make aware with our children the dangers. They use spoken word artists. I attended a visual arts program that they did showing the effects of billboarding and commercials and the types of predatory practices that they use to hook our people to tobacco. So just if you want to look up any information, they're doing a lot of work. And some of that work is ours to do as well. Another organization, if you interested to join in on, but that's the African American Tobacco Control Leadership Council. I thank them for their work. I was once a smoker myself, and that's one of the greatest things I ever did for myself in life was to quit many years ago. But I know that our children, our youth are being targeted today. So let us support. Oh, and by the way, one important thing I want to mention about that, on August 28th in 2020, California did pass a broad law prohibiting the sale of most flavored tobacco products. But then there was a referendum that was brought forth. And so this will come back on the ballots in November of 2022. So let us keep our eyes and ears open for that important piece of law that will come before us. So today I want to light a candle of justice for the work of the AATCLC and for their continued work for our health in this here place. Oop, I gotta get it lit. There you go.
I see.
Ashe.
Kanke,
Yes.
this is Nan Tambu. I understand that they have nicotine toothpicks out now.
Whoa.
Toothpicks.
Nicotine.
Woo. Okay, for that. Thank you, Brother Natambo.
That's scary.
Yeah.
I mean, information and fact is fact. I mean, you know, it just is what it is. And that it just shows the depth at which the community goes, those that be and the powers that they be, that what they will do to come after us, you know, that's all I can say is like that, hold up that candle of justice. And thank you, Mama Kanke and Brother Natambo. And so now with all of that, we have a lot on our heads and a lot on our hearts. And as we sit here and ponder and think about and take in what we have heard so far and what has been introduced so far, I think it is only appropriate. It is most appropriate that we call forth our musicians, our artists, our creative warriors to come forth and share with us a little song, share with us a little music. Let that rhythm take you higher. Let that rhythm move your soul. Ashe. And so I want to call on the sounds of mine. I see Brother Thomas, you about to play with us? Call on the sounds of my eyes, my dear brother David, and my dear sister Latrice, if you can bless us with one of your many wonderful songs. Ashe.
All right, thank you, Baba Sydney. Mama Latrice will join us for our second selection.
All right.
We're gonna have one today where we're hoping that you can sing the refrain with us. The point is that we write the story.
Ashe.
Our ancestors wrote the story. We are our ancestors. We continue to write the story. So you'll catch it as we catch it. So let me get a minute to get the sound together. And for that, we'll have you guys looking at each other because I want you to know we write the story. Okay. All right. Here we go. If I can get this. Thank you for your patience. Okay, here we go. We write the story of our lives today and tell it forward, ancestors say. No more history deceit, we say. Come children, listen and know the way. Master builders as the ancestors have been for so long. And the truth is that you carry their blood all along. Evil men try to put you to sleep, make you down. But you were born great and they never can take all that out. We write the story of our lives today and tell it forward as sisters say. No more history deceived, we say. Come children, listen and know the way. Spiritual laws govern every plane that we tread. Born divine every curve and the land of sight said. Peace to all creatures in life, with nature behind. All superheroes infirm and find those who are not. We write the story of our lives today and tell it forward as sisters say. No more history deceived, we say. Come children, listen and know the way. We write the story of our lives today and tell it forward as sisters say. No more history deceived, we say. Come children, listen and know the way. We write the story of our lives today. We write the story. 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 We write the story.
Ashe. Thank you, Brother David. Thank
So
you.
family, the mantra is in there. So hopefully it's stuck in your brain now.
Yeah, this is true. And keeping with that, writing the story, now is that part in the service where we take time to recognize the contributions that African people have made in the past. This is that time in the service where we have a historical tribute, where we make it a point, we are intentional in taking out a few minutes to talk about somebody or something, a time, a place in our history in which we're trying to encourage you to look it up. This is not time to give a full class, but just the tidbits, just the information, just the introduction to some information, because we know, as the song says, we have to write our story. And if we don't write our story and tell our story, somebody else will be writing and telling it. And I share this over and over again that one of our ghetto philosophers, Dick Gregory, once said, if we don't tell our story, that 100 years from now, Martin Luther King is going to be listed as white and Jeffrey Dahmer will be an African. So we have to make sure that this information is there and out and clear. And with that said, now is the time I want to bring forth my good brother, Iman Desmond. If you can come forth and share with us a little information about our history with the historical tribute. Ashe?
Ashe. I can't say it like Baba Tai. I just want to say love and blessings to Wose family, Uncle Ujasaneb, elders, may I speak?
Come in. Ashe, yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. So this historical tribute, I'm not sure for Black History Month if you guys been watching TV or just been too busy working. They've been showing, and I saw this documentary on the show, not Soul Train, but called Soul. And some of you guys might know the show. I did not hear about it or know about it at all. So when I saw this documentary, I said, hey, just in case my family from Wose missed it, let's discuss and give a tribute to this wonderful show that just did so much to the community and just reverse negative stereotypes and provided basically a mental health platform to discuss issues and joy and entertainment for the Black culture. So I believe we have a clip that I want to show, and then I'm going to get into the producers. And I don't have enough time to do everything because there's so much on the background on why the show was canceled, but you guys know why. So Baba Imhotep, if you could share some of those, the videos, thank you.
I would never stop loving you. Do you know that some folks know about it, some don't?
3 years before Soul Train premiered on commercial television, Ellis Hazlip, the first Black producer at Channel 13, was asked to develop an arts program that would celebrate Black culture.
It's soul.
WNET decided that they needed to have a show to speak to the Black community. And they were smart enough and hip enough to know that that show needed to be produced and directed by African Americans.
Good evening. I'm Ellis Hazlip, and I welcome you to another Soul episode.
Ellis Hazlip always knew who was hot and what was hot, oftentimes before anybody else knew it.
First, maybe you ought to tell the audience how old you are. Is that cool?
25.
Al Green, he showed up at 11 in the morning. You know, he just kind of didn't want to be there, and we did a little rehearsal, sound check, and then we started bringing the audience in. And the place filled up with the coolest African-American crowd of young people that you would ever want to be in front of. And he immediately changed and then just blew the roof off the place.
I guess the only thing I can really say is, I'm so tired of being alone. I'm so tired of on my own. Won't you help me now just as soon as you can? natural fact here that I want to come back. Won't you shoot me where it's sad, baby?
For a young man, young African-American man, you know, who had basically, you know, grew up listening to Malcolm and knowing about Martin and the March on Washington and the Civil Rights struggle, soul has sort of cemented those things that we were learning. I felt like I'd found something that was for me. And I'd never had that feeling before.
You became a member of SNCC, SNCC, and why don't you run down a little to us what it was like being involved in that period of American history?
Whoa, what can it be? What can it be? Whoa, whoa, be, what can it be? Yo, that's holding me, what can it be? That's holding me.
Look out from here on, because I'm gonna be blasting, I'm gonna hit him, I'm gonna fight until he falls, and if he gets up, I'm gonna knock him down again.
I see the revolution as one. Regardless of geographical distance, I see it as one.
We are one nation separated by the same language.
Take your hands off me!
The use of repetition doesn't make a thing repetitious.
I got the blood, who got what? I got the soul, who got what?
You like being classified as a soul artist or having been described as a soul singer?
Sir, first of all, when people say soul, they put you in one category. They say, he's a soul artist. So he's going to sing, you know, and that's all they expect for you to sing, and that's all they want you to sing. That's not true. Soul is being able to express yourself.
What's interesting about soul is that soul is live. The other shows that were on at the time, they'd go on, they'd be on for 3 minutes, they'd lip sync. Maybe they'd sing live, but it would be one song. We encouraged artists to come on and just do a set.
There is superstition, writings on the wall. There is superstition, let us spark the fall.
It was a solid hour of black culture for everyone to see. It was like a great concert in a club in your house.
A lot of people refer to the Stevie Wonder show as a show where the effects were so great. It was almost his kind of avant-garde. You know, it kind of worked, but it was just kind of a free-for-all.
Okay, thank you guys. Thank you for showing that. So this is more tribute. I'm trying to, oh, there we go. Brought in my screen so you guys could see me. So I wanted to do a tribute to the show because it's done so much for the community. And what I wanted to mention, this show got canceled. So Soul was a program that was funded in part by the Ford Foundation, characterizing it in 1970s as the only nationally televised weekly series oriented to the Black community and produced by Blacks. So this show, this aired for a series of 39 one-hour programs entitled Soul. It started on Thursday, September 12th, 1968. This year will mark the 52nd anniversary of the showing of the show. The two originated first. It was first aired and videotaped in WNET's West 55th Street Studios in Manhattan. The two original co-hosts that premiered the show were Alvin Passant and a noted Black Harvard psychologist. And the other person was Loretta Long, who was there for 1 year and then later went on, got stolen by Sesame Street. And so she took on the role of, they say, Susan Robinson. So I want you to understand the role, Passant, a Harvard psychologist, and then also the next person that was the co-host was Ellis Hazlitt. Forgive me if I mispronounced the name. I'm going to try to get through this soon. So basically moving on, the premiere broadcast of the Soul featured, all different artists, poets, spoken word artists, and political commenters, revolutionaries, Muhammad Ali, as you can see. Moving on, Passant and Long hosted 4 more shows together afterwards. On October 24th, 1968, Passant was replaced by the show's creator, Ellis Hazlitt, who you guys saw in the video, who was openly gay and African-American, closely associated with the Black arts movement. Hazlitt Long would co-host the show through December 5th, 1968, which Hazlitt became the sole host. Let's see. One of the main things that stand out, one of the biggest impacts of the show was its big cultural impact on the African-American community and also the African-American identity to others to see African-Americans and Blacks in a positive light. The 1968 Harris Poll show estimated that more than 65% of African-American households with access to the show watched it on a regular basis. In 1970, it was carried by 72 public stations. So this is one of the reasons why I wanted to choose Soul and do the historical tribute. But moving on, so the Soul has 2 main the co-hosts. So we had Laura Long, we also had Alvin Francis Passant, and Ellis Hazlitt, who was the host in that video. But talking about Alvin Passant, I just want to give you a good background so you know why the show was so powerful. Alvin Passant was a American psychiatrist known for his research on the effects of racism in the Black community. He was born in May 15, 1934 in East Harlem, New York. And from there, 2 immigrants from Haiti. And he is the 7th child of 8 children to the parents of Christopher and Harriet Passant. At the young age of 9, he became ill with rheumatic fever. He was hospitalized, started reading, and then found his love and passion in reading. Going through school, he went to a science-based high school, a special school in New York. At a school called Stuyvesant. I believe that's in Bed-Stuy, New York. Stuyvesant was predominantly white. Passant was one of the fellow Blacks who encountered racism, like all of us, in addition to race acts against him. He had to deal with also losing his mother in high school. I'm being very quick, guys, so I'm kind of rushing because my time. Passant attended Columbia University, where he continued to experience racism. I'm just giving you highlights. In 1956, he graduated from Columbia, and then he was enrolled in the Cornell's medical school, and he was the only African-American admitted during that year. He experienced racism fueled with his career in his areas while he was in school, and this fueled his career areas, which focused on mental health of African Americans and their encounters with racial bias. He then became chief resident of UCLA in the Neuropsychiatric Institute. In 1965, he left UCLA and became the Southern Field Director of the Medical Committee for Human Rights in Jackson, Mississippi. Passant believed that racism was a major health problem of the Black community. He believed in helping to segregate the South, especially with medical facilities that would be more helpful than doing research at the time. He goes on, he went to Tufts Medical Schools, but one of his important works, I'm gonna skip all that due to time, you guys can look it up, But one of the things I wanted to stand out is Poussin became well known for his media. He consulted on media scripts, so he worked on positive sitcoms like The Cosby Show, A Different World. He worked with Bill Cosby and these shows showed and promoted a positive, healthy, and realistic image of Black families. Poussin addressed negative racial stereotypes in the media. He was even called upon by the FBI, the White House Department of Health, all summoned for his help and his counsel. He continued his interest in media and founded the Media Center of Judge Baker's Children's Center in 1994. But I wanted you guys to understand how powerful he was. Some of us know The Cosby Show. Some of us know The Different World and all these positive shows that he was a part of. He was behind this show so as well, which also made it so powerful. Moving on to highlights of what Alvin Poussin was well known. His work deconstructed the theories of race models by white psychologists previously in the field. Through his research, he addresses blatant and subtle forms of racism. This is why Poussin insists that Blacks instill a self-esteem and Black pride in children growing up in society. A couple of the books he wrote that were powerful was a controversial book, Why Blacks Kill Blacks. And in it, he turns the theory of racial self-hatred on its head. He develops his aggression rage theory to show psychological issues that plague African Americans. In his book, he states self-hatred allows whites to feel that Blacks are psychologically deranged. Whites are posing as models of mental health, but in fact, it must be whites who are insecure and filled with self-hatred, since they are the ones who need to oppress Blacks in order to cope with life. I'm going to skip down. So some of this notice works, as I said, was that the books, yes, there's so much on him, is Why Blacks Kill Blacks, Raising Black Children, Lay My Burden Down, and Come On, People, on the Path from the Victims to the Victors. So what made the show a success and tribute was we having a Black psychologist, Alvin Francis Poussin, that, helped with this show and discuss and show things that would uplift the Black psyche in America and in the community, and for others who watched it. Finishing up, Ellis Hellzip was also one of the producers. He was born on September 21st, 1929 in Washington, D.C., but he died in January 25th, 1991. So he grew up and created several different shows and plays and theaters. Graduated in 1954 from Howard University. He moved to New York City and began producing plays with actors such as the Vinay Carrolls, Cicely Tyson, and so on and so forth. But he became known as, when Laura Long left, he replaced, Laura Long left, and when Poussin left, he became the executive producer of the show Soul. And so he took over. I'm gonna speed up now. He later on died. He was diagnosed with lung cancer in 1980s, and then with a brain tumor. He died in 1991 at George Washington University Medical Center. So right now, in 2018, the documentary of the film about Ellis Hellzip, entitled Mr. Soul, is showing right now, and you could actually watch it and stream it and all the episodes. And I'm going to put the link in the chat. This film was produced by his niece, filmmaker Melissa Hislop. There's so much more I could talk about the show, but one of the reasons why it was canceled was because it was so effective. And they talked about the show having the battle for funds between Tony Brown's Journal and also Soul. And just to I'm gonna cut through, I'm almost done, guys. But one of the things I wanted to, some of the arguments that I believe that were important that I want everyone to hear is a statement was the tragedy of it all is that Blacks didn't have a voice in how Central Broadcasting Network distributed 215 million available funds for the public television. The tragedy is that Blacks didn't have a voice in how it was distributed. They told Jet, if the Corporation for Public Broadcasting can fund the white programs for millions of dollars, it is an absolute insult that Black programs can't even be funded for $650,000, a number representing the combined budget of Soul and the Black Journal, which is Tony Brown's journal. In this hearing in the hearing that was held at the Central Broadcasting Board with civil rights activist Jesse Jackson. Moving on, I'm running out of time. We as Black people have a distinct view, he said, meddling the discourses of Black power and civil rights and our tax investment in the Central Broadcasting, how Central Broadcasting obligates and decides who gets shown, when, where, and how. Moving on, the last thing I want to state is they're saying this show was canceled and is betrayal to the Black community. It's rebuke of the station's liberal, left, and leaning politics. The station executive also knew that the Nixon era climate of distrust for the public broadcasting, combined with the Ford Foundation turn to overthrow the show, rendered more dependent than ever of the individual donations, membership fees, and corporate underwriting. Basically, to sum up everything, I'm trying to skip through because I'm only supposed to really have 10 minutes. But Nixon intervened, they didn't like the show, and so they started to cut funding, which was the real, which was one of the main reasons why it got cut. I give tribute to Soul and the prior executive director, Ellis Helzer, that passed away. So I give pour libation and say ashe to him. And also the 4 highlights I want to recognize is the show can be aired. You can see all the links. Please support it. It was powerful, and there's nothing that enhances the Black community's psyche than mixing psychology, entertainment, poetry into one program. That was effective. 2, I don't care if you're male, female, you're gay or lesbian. Ellis Helzer was a proud Black African-American gay male. However, so everyone is involved in the movement and everyone could make a change for the Black community. And 3, whatever we do, always, whether it's basketball, what was basketball before Black people? Where was music, classical jazz, or music before Black people? Where was, just music and things and entertainment before Blacks? We magnify and add on to everything that we do. And we do it with soul. So everything you do it with soul, love and blessings, ashe.
Ashe. Well, thank you, Brother Desmond. Quite a
no problem.
Quite a bit of information there, and I've seen some postings on where we can go online and look up some of the shows. I'm racking my brain, and I don't believe that I've actually that remember seeing it.
Excuse me, Baba Sidney. Of course, our brother Bill has put all that information in the chat.
Yes.
And so he has the episodes on Amazon Prime, and he has the Mr. Soul on PBS. So if everyone would check the chat, we could get that information.
Ashe. I was just about to say, I don't remember seeing it. And I remember during that time, if a Black person was on TV, it didn't matter if they was Ed Sullivan, Johnny Carson, a midday talk show, the phone would be ringing and they would say, turn on channel 4. You know, a black person's on, so I don't know how I missed it. So anyway, with that said, I mean, we've, you know, so something to think about, stirring. And speaking of soul, and speaking of stirring, and speaking of music, and speaking of the movement of the soul, I would like to ask our dear brother, David, and his beautiful wife, my sister, Latrice, if they could come on and bless us with some of their soul stirring soul. Ashe?
Ashe, Ashe-o.
Ashe-o.
Just one moment to share the screen. All right. In need of love today. Don't delay, send yours in right away. Haze going round, breaking many hearts. Stop it, please, before it goes too far. Love's in need of love today. Don't delay, send yours in right away. Haze going round, breaking many hearts. Stop it, please, before it goes too far. Send yours in right away. many hearts. Stop it, please, before it goes too far. Don't delay. Send yours in right away. Love in need of love today. Don't delay. Send yours in right away.
My goodness. Wow. Woo. Mama Latrice, you know, the image came to my mind. I wish I could take that sound, take your voice, turn it into an amulet and wear it around my neck when I walk out the door. Ah, Shay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Ah, Shay. Woo. All right. Now that we got that, we got the song, got our spirits are lifted up. We feeling it. I can visually see that beautiful voice. And so now before we go into the litany of sacrifice and you start to get your monies together and do the math and figure out what it is that you want to give and what parts and how you're going to move things. Let's take a second and recognize a few of the other folks here before as we prepare for the litany of sacrifice.
Yes, yes. Grand rising to everyone again today, and all of those. If all of you, if we don't mention your name, it's not because you're not in our hearts. I just want to get through to saying hello just to a few of you and grand rising. And I'm so full after Mama Latrice saying, I just, tears, and so I won't go on much. But we have our brother Lee Jones is here today with us. Of course, our professor, our wonderful Professor Mainu Empun is with us today. Our Queen Mother Thurston is here today. We're so happy all of you are here. Our Mama Bertha Rose is here. Our sister Mona, who we are keeping in prayer, she's here with us today. Our wonderful Minister Mallie, who's going to bring our message, he's here today. Wonderful, wonderful. We are excited. Our brother Malik is here. Sister Asada is here, and Sister Abun, and that's that's enough for today. Ashe.
Ashe. And if we miss your name, then charge it to our heads and not our hearts, because we're thinking of each and every one of you. Ashe. And so now is that time in our service where we ask that you go into that storehouse of yours, that you take a little from the shelf and share it with the community. Now is a time where we ask the community to give back to WOSE so that we can make happen the things that have to happen. We can pay those bills. We can continue to develop and grow. And so at this point in time, I want to open it up to those who are presenting the Litany of Sacrifice. I don't have the name. Who's coming forth to do the Litany of Sacrifice?
Uncle Job Seneb will say, I'm Sister Michelle, and Brother Damani and I will be giving the Litany of Sacrifice, which is the time in our service where we recognize our obligation to share and return the energy, life, and health that Amun-Ra has given us. Donations are welcome, posted on the screen. Hopefully in a few moments, will be the websites of both WOSE Sacramento and WOSE Oakland. And you may donate online at either one of the websites. And also posted are the mailing addresses of the churches if you would like to send your donation in by mail. In giving, you open yourself to receive. Save us, O Holy One, by your name. Vindicate us by your might. Hear my prayer, divine protector. Listen to the words of my mouth. How can we repay the Holy One for the gifts that have been given to us? We will lift up the cup of salvation and call on the God of our ancestors. We will fulfill our vows to our Creator in the presence of our people. Gladly we bring our sacrifices to you. We praise your name, O Amun-Ra, for it is good. Umoja, unity. We shall strive to maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race.
Kukijakalia, self-determination. We shall define, name, create, and speak for ourselves.
Ujima, collective work and responsibility. We shall build and maintain our communities together. Our brothers and sisters' problems shall be ours to solve together.
Ujamaa, cooperative economics. Together we shall build and maintain our own businesses and together profit from them.
Nia, purpose. We shall make our collective vocation and the building and developing of our community and the restoration of our people to our traditional greatness.
Kaumba, creativity. We should do as much as we can in any way that we can to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited it.
Imani, faith. We will believe with all our hearts in our God, our people. And in the righteousness and victory of our struggle. Amun-Ra.
Amun-Ra. Let us pray. Holy One, O Amun-Ra, though hidden, we recognize you as the source of all life and all power. We thank you. We thank you for those this morning who headed to give and those that had it in their hearts to give, but didn't have it at the moment. We'd like to thank you, O Amun-Ra, for that divine essence you have put in us. We ask that it continue to grow in us. It be seen in us morning, noon, and night. It dwelled in our thoughts. May it come out in our actions and our words, O Amun-Ra. We'd like to thank you for the precious breath of life this morning. I'd like to thank you for a roof over our head, or food and shelter, food, clothing, and shelter, O Amun-Ra. We'd like to pray for our brothers and sisters throughout the United States. We'd like to pray for our homeless brothers, special prayer for our homeless brothers and sisters, our brothers and sisters who are mentally ill and on the streets this morning. We'd like to send out a special prayer to the 300 plus girls in Nigeria who was kidnapped. And just how could this be, Amun-Ra? We ask that your spirit, your divine essence will penetrate the hearts of those who are responsible for this, and those girls would return to their loved ones safely, Amun-Ra. We'd like to pray for our brothers and sisters in the human family at the southern border, Amun-Ra. We'd like to pray for our brothers and sisters in the Palestinian territories, our brothers and sisters in the human family and Nehemiah. We'd like to pray for just peace and harmony on earth, Amen Ra. We'd like to pray that the heart of man will just be made whole. We will see the oneness of the human family and stop warring against each one another, Amen Ra. I'd like to thank you for this church, Wose. I'd like to thank you for our traditions, our rituals, our teachings, Amen Ra. Just thank you. We'd like to thank you to give us the strength to carry our message to the next generation, to give us creative ways to close this generational divide so we can bring more people in and spread our message, a message of oneness, a message of unity, a message of harmony, truth, justice, and righteousness. Spread my art throughout the land. Help that. We pray, Lord, that every day Haru will rise up in us. That Haru spirit will rise up in us, and we will put the kingdom of Asa back in order. That we always push forward. Let us not despair. Let us push forward in harmony and love and peace. Job Sanab. This is my prayer, divine protector. Thank you.
Ashe. Ashe.
Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for that prayer. Thank you for the readings of the litany. I'm just so thankful. And now that we have taken care of that piece of the business end of it, I say that we, had to dig in our pockets and take care of that business end of it, because that is also a part of the running of this movement. But now is that time in the.
Can you put the addresses up, please? Sorry to interrupt you.
Yes. Okay. Yes, sir. Brother Bill, can you share the addresses again? There he is. Not quite. It's coming. Yeah, ooh, there you go.
Sante-san.
Well, I love this brother Bill, man. I tell you what.
He's a lawyer.
He is a walking thesaurus, a walking informational. Whatever you need, you put it out there, and he pulls and he gets it there. I think about, before I get into the message, listening to Dr. John Henry Clark, and he said that he was a researcher for Brother Malcolm. Malcolm would get into we're going to have a debate set up with somebody from Harvard, someplace, and he give the information to Brother John Henry Clark, and John Henry Clark would do that research. He'd get that information and share it with Malcolm, and then Malcolm would take that information and use it as it should be used. And so I say my brother Bill he's like John Henry Clark. You put it out there, he get the information to you, and then you use it as you should be used. Shay. Thank you again. Thank you. So now it's that part of the program the part of the service where we get to the message. We come to where we share that particular piece of information, that message. We kind of synthesize it all and make sense of it, put it in a form so that others can understand. We look through history, and there's always that person who is so moved by the Spirit, that they can take the thoughts, they can take the feelings and put it into words so that all of us can understand. And my brother, Minister Mallie, is that person who has that ability. He can take a lot of what seemingly abstract or different parts and bring it together into that whole. He can take it and formulate it, and so that we can all understand as we go through the series, as we go through the process of a service, we go through the libation, we go through the circle prayer, we go through the litany, we go through the music, and pull it all together so that we walk out in one accord. With that said, I want to open it up and call forward my dear brother, my brother from another mother, someone I've known for such a long, long time that it's been a while and we went through the ups and the downs, the good times and the bad times, but he's always had my back, and I've always especially cared for this brother for that ability to tie things together and make it make sense. So at this point in time, I want to call forth my brother Minister Mallie Latham. Give us a word, brother. Shake.
Uncle Job Seneb. As usual, my brother Sidney always manages to pull on a challenge on top of a challenge. As he has so aptly spoken, we know each other and we've been family to each other for an awful long time. And so, as he stated, I'm going to attempt to take this honor of being able to bring a message and share with the community we have. Welcome, 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 Wose community. We've had the libation, we've had the circle prayer to invite the powers and spirits that be to come join us to participate in this spiritual meal. And before I speak to anything, I want to also honor that I asked permission to share this message that was inspired through the time from the elders. Elders, we give you permission to speak.
Indeed.
Thank you, my elders. I have posted the topic, now is the time. Okay. It looks a bit strange. Now is as posted, you see a passage that was the inspiration for this topic. During our Tuesday's Minister in Training class, we spoke to this passage found in Hosea on page 42, section 4. It comes from the books of wise instruction.
He's breaking up.
Let's read that. Be diligent as long as you live. Always doing more than is commanded of you. Do not misuse your time while following your heart, for it is offensive to the soul to waste one's time. Do not lose the daily opportunity to increase that which you have. Diligence produces gains, and gains do not endure when diligence is abandoned. Thank you, Brother Bill. You can pull down. Now is the time. Now is the time for us as a people to behave as if we're awake. Now is the time for us to be engaged in the work of healing and strengthening ourselves and our families and our communities. Now is the time to bring us together in unity, practicing the principles in Ngusa Saba, accomplishing the goals of Ma'at. Now is the time to think Ma'at, speak Ma'at, and do Ma'at. As we talk about today, this topic about now is the time, we might want to ask the question, what time is it? And in that inverse of the question, what is time? Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time discussing the concept of time. We could be here a few days, a few weeks, a few months, even a few years, if we were just to discuss time itself. I just want to share a piece of what I regard time as. we know that in the creation of the universe, Ptah, Amenorah, came out of existence and created time so that the universe would become in existence. Therefore, time is one of the most dominant and significant features, factors, and elements of our lives. Time is to be respected. Time is to be honored. Time is to be adhered to, because time is both infinite and finite. Time is valuable but invaluable. Time isn't measurable, yet can be measured. Time is significant. And in our relationship to time, that will determine what type of lives we live. Is anybody with me this morning? When we talk about time, we also talk about how we need to be respectful of time. Not just my own time, not just an individual's time, but each other's time. That's why one of the things that we do so well and will say is when we have our services, we structure them. We establish an order of service. Now, I'm sure many of you have been to different churches and different programs where time seems to be a bit lax. Yet, we'll say is one of the few entities I know of that actually puts scheduled times for where the things within a service are supposed to occur. Ain't that something? And how that is the relationship that someone like the Thai has to time. He organizes it. He places it in right order, which is, of course, a principle of Ma'at. And we as a community honor that time. We try to hone ourselves in and work with what we talk about and what we contribute to the service in the frame of time. And when we do that, we become responsible with our time and with others' times. Because see, now is the time that we be on time and that we be timely. That is our relationship to time. Are we still with me today? Time and our issues with time have a lot to do with the way that we relate to time. We don't just want to respect it. We don't want to just be responsible, but we also want to be effective and productive with our time. And the ways that we're going to talk about today, how we're going to accomplish that, has a whole lot to do with the passage that we shared earlier in the message. Be diligent, do more than has been commanded of you. And one piece that really instigated a whole lot of discussion was the line about do not waste the heart's time. Yeah, see, do not misuse your time while following your heart, for it is offensive to the soul to waste one's time. See, we don't want to waste time, because even though you might hear people say things like making up for lost time, the truth is there ain't no making up of time. Once time is past, it's past. Time is in a constant flow. Time is always going on, and time waits for no one. Now is the time that we become effective and productive about our use of time. We don't have time to waste. So when it comes to being this statement about not wasting the heart's time, I'm gonna request from all of y'all who are within the community listening to this, that we suspend, that we move to the side our Eurocentric indoctrination. Can you do that with me?
Yes,
I want this portion of what we're talking about to move Eurocentric perception, logic about the heart, the mind, and the tongue. If we're going to address that now is the time, and how we effectively and productively engage with time, we're going to have to understand the heart, the mind, and the tongue, and how that's related to time. Now, one of the reasons why I'm even raising this is to be clear that this was inspired by Minister Alicia. See, much like Minister Imhotep has said, and you hear my brother Baba Sidney say, we really appreciate and enjoy the insights of Minister Alicia. And one of the reasons why we do is because she has this knack for being powerfully moving with what she says by being extremely clear. You don't have to guess what Minister Alicia is trying to say to you. When she shares an insight, she's real clear. When she gives you a comment about something, or when she does her messages, she don't have to use a whole bunch of complex language. She ain't got to show off her education. What she does is say stated things in a very clear manner. And when she talked about the heart, the mind, and the tongue, see, that juiced me, that touched me, that moved me to speak to that today. Because when we say now is the time, see, now is the time for us to have a better understanding about the relationship of the heart and the mind and the tongue. Can we go there? Can we talk about that today?
Come on, brother, teach good.
See, the heart and the mind, when we talk about it in the essence of what we really are referring to, we're not talking about biology. We're not talking about physiology. We're not talking about organs or locations within the body, the physical body. When we talk about the heart and the mind, we're talking about an essence, a portion of our nature, of who we be. Our heart and our mind work in sync. Our heart and our mind operate as one to motivate, activate our car, our spirit. And in turn, the spirit nourishes the heart and the mind so that all is in harmony within us and within the context of who we relate to. The heart and the mind working in sync will inspire and motivate the tongue to make manifest the truth. The tongue can yield the truth about what is really going on within us. When the heart and the mind are in sync and it's healthy, we speak the truth. And the tongue is responsible for making that truth manifest. So when we want to use our time effectively, when we want to make sure our time is productive, when we want to honor and respect the essence of time, our heart and our mind have to be healthy. Our heart and our mind have to be whole. Our heart and our mind has to be balanced. And in it, it motivates the tongue to speak the truth. And it's not necessary to be manipulative. It's not necessary to be deceptive. It's not necessary to bully or to intimidate when you can speak your truth. Speaking truth to power is one of the dynamics of politics, of social activity. The tongue issuing the truth of your heart and mind in sync is spiritually our power.
Make it plain.
And when we talk about now is the time, that's what time it is. There was a time in the 60s and 70s that there was a speaker that would go around and he'd say, "What time is it?" And the response was nation time. When we say, "What time is it now?" Well, don't think about Morris Day and the time. When we say, "What time is it now?" we're talking about it's time to develop ourselves. It's time to heal ourselves. It's time to strengthen ourselves. It's time to unify ourselves. It's time to be creative with ourselves. It's time to reach out to the young. It's time to get that gap between generations closed. It's now the time to build bridges instead of canyons. Now it is the time to bring folks together to accomplish the purpose of our mission with a divine purpose. That's what time it is. And our ability to use our heart and minds in sync to provide the truth from our tongue is key to how time works with us and for us. Because even though time is very powerful, and even though time won't be controlled by us, yet we can influence the use of time in a successful manner. We still here together this today, community? Is this a little too much for us today? The idea of time can be our ally and not our adversary. And there are three things I believe that I want to bring to your attention that help us accomplish that purpose. We don't just have the tools and the skills and the abilities that we personally have. We also have available to us
I lost sound.
Yeah, I lost the sound.
basis, working on things. First of all, working on ourselves. First and foremost, working on ourselves. And then there are the goals or the outcomes represented by my right order, harmony, justice, truth, and righteousness. And you get there because we have work that we must accomplish in our time. And one thing about this thing about the work is that it also leaves room not simply to do work and work alone, but also has time to do things work related, like celebrate, like meditate, like commiserate. We can use time and it doesn't have to be rigid. We don't want to waste time and we don't want to pursue obsessions of the heart. But here's the thing we don't want to forget. We also need to honor and acknowledge the things that we do well, the things that we accomplish. You know, a lot of times people spend a whole bunch of times complaining about things reminding themselves of their deficits, talking about their issues and their problems and what they have and what they don't have and what they should have had, and reminding themselves of their failures and their struggles, and not speaking in a manner as if something good goes on in their lives. When we take time, when we schedule time, we also schedule time to remind ourselves to appreciate, to remind ourselves to have gratitude, to be thankful about those blessings, gifts, and accomplishments we do have. If our lives were just all bad, none of us would still be here today. Because ultimately, it would be so bad, we wouldn't be able to show up for places like this. Because indeed, there are some people truly suffering. We aren't those people. Yes, our lives are not perfect. Yes, there are things we like to improve. Yes, there are still more things to accomplish. Yet we also do not want to forget that we have also already accomplished some things, that we have already done things that we should celebrate. We have tools, gifts, abilities, and skills that we need to acknowledge, because if you do not, in the time you have, you might spend a whole lot of time being obsessed with the negative. If you don't think that's true, then look on Facebook sometime. Look on Twitter sometimes. There seems to be a whole lot of people spend a whole lot of time talking about stuff that ain't right, people that ain't right, folks that have mistreated them, folks that don't treat them, folks that don't care, folks that care too much. All of the excesses or obsessions that distract us from looking at our assets, looking at what it is to be celebrated. We have to take the time and make the time to also celebrate, because if not, we miss out on what I love to always mention, our hallelujah moments. See, there is hallelujah time, not only in our services, but in our personal lives. See, there are stuff. It doesn't mean we ignore the challenges. It doesn't mean we don't experience tragedy, but we have to take the time to also look at our triumphs, look at our wins, because it ain't all losses. If that be the case, we wouldn't last long. Yet, here we be. And when you have your heart and your mind in sync, speaking the tongue of your truth that makes manifest, see, then you have a much more balanced relationship with time. You don't spend so much time in the complaint line. See, you spend a lot of time in the celebrate line. You don't have time to waste complaining. And you'll have more time to accomplish even more. That has that phrase in the passage about do more than is commanded. Now, I have to be honest. I struggled with that when I first read that about exceeding what you have been commanded. But then I look about the tradition we have, like in learning institutions like Iliotime, and our history of where we've had people who are living embodiments of that particular perspective. They exceeded expectations. And that's one of the things that now is the time to be a part of. Now is the time to continue to inspire.
Lost the sound.
To excellence. We want to invest our time in doing effective, productive things that have results, outcomes, and accomplishments that exceed the average, that exceed the mean, that are beyond what you are expected to do. Amen. Ashe. So when it comes to this issue about time, I want to draw it all to a close and wrap this up in a package, because there's still one piece of the passage that I want to reflect on. There was the first two words of the passage in Hosea: be diligent. See, when it comes to that word diligent, I had to really think about it, meditate on that particular word. And then I came with two other words to go along with diligent. There is dedication and there is discipline. Dedication, discipline, and diligence. When we talk about the effective investment of time, our positive relationship with time, now is the time to deal with dedication, discipline, and diligence. Dedication is that commitment to the task. Whatever that be, when you are dedicated, you have a consistent commitment. You get up, you get out, and you get down, and you are dedicated to that activity. You do this in a consistent manner. You ain't way up here one day and way down here the next day. In fact, when you're dedicated, you just make sure that you're accomplishing the best you can accomplish for that day and that time and that situation, whatever that standard may be. And then there's discipline. Discipline is the ability to apply to the dedication. That means you don't have excuses. You don't need explanations about how you're doing your time. When you invest and when you are active and when you are dedicated, your discipline allows you to find the energy and the will to get up and get up and get up and get up, because it ain't always easy to be motivated. Even for us ministers, even for us leaders, even for the people who say, you know, we about it, every day is not smooth. You don't wake up every day eager and excited to get involved with whatever it is you have to do. Yet, discipline moves you, motivates you, and inspires you and orders you. Discipline is how you go out handling the task. So there's dedication and there's discipline. And then there's this diligence. You know, I had to, and I'm going to say this to Minister Imhotep, because you see, he was talking about during the class that there was a point when there was maybe 2 or even more exegesis opportunities for messages or sermons. And I heard him, and being someone who comes from the preaching background, I also felt him. And yes, Minister Imhotep, I felt the challenge and I picked up the ball, and hopefully today I have ran well with the ball. I haven't done much exegesis, but I have spoke to the element that you raised as one of the topics that could be about the message. And diligence is that topic. Diligence is that effort. Diligence is that energy. Diligence is how when we are dedicated, when we exercise our discipline, we practice and we perform on a daily basis, regardless of the challenges, regardless of the obstacles, regardless of whatever may be present in our personal lives. We don't take days off from approaching that which we consider to be our ministry. It is more than a profession. It is more than a career. It is a lifestyle. And when it is a lifestyle, diligence is how you maintain the effort. I hope somebody's feeling me today. Because, see, for me, that explains how I'm able to handle life as life shows up. Because I don't know about you all, but I know I've faced some significant challenges in my life. Yeah. Some of them that I've raised up as obstacles for myself by my own behavior, and some of those things just brought to me by the outcomes in life. Tragedies, trials, misdeeds, all of those things. Yet diligence allows me to stay the course. And when you do diligence, you are able to understand that there are points when you may need some help. That it ain't all about you and it ain't all on you, because that's why we have a community. If it was a solo effort, boy, a lot of us would be falling down.
All right,
but instead, it is about a communal effort. It's about diligence, not just me personally, but us as a community. In unity, there's community. And in that effort, we can put the diligence, because sometimes some member of that unit might need a break. And somebody in that unit might need to rest. And somebody in that unit may not have all the necessary tools and skills to apply to the process of what we're trying to change and accomplish. That's the significance of fellowship. That's the significance of developing a community of believers. Because when we have it, it ain't only on us.
All right.
Now is the time to understand how valuable that is, how important that is, how significant that is, how powerful that is, how necessary that is. And so let me wrap it up with this piece that I want to share about me. See, some of y'all have only had a short history of being aware of me and my involvement with Wosay. My brother Sidney, me and him have had the privilege of being together as family for more than 40 years. And so we have a good knowledge of ourselves and who we be. Yeah. But let me give you a little bit about who I be.
All right.
See, I'm a person that believes I have a debt. I'm a person who believes I owe something. And I have that belief about myself. I have that sense about myself because of what I've experienced in my life. First and foremost, if not for divine intervention, I couldn't be sitting here today worshiping with you.
Come on now.
That's the truth. And I know I owe the divine for that. But it ain't just in debt to the divine. I'm also in debt to my mother, who raised me, like we always say, raised me right. She gave me love. She gave me care. She gave me comfort. She lifted me up as a child all the days of her life. I owe her for that. And then there are my siblings, my sisters, and my brothers. My sisters have stood with me and behind me in good times and so-called bad times. I have struggled. I wasn't always a minister. I wasn't always together, yet my siblings loved me through it. They held me through it. They supported me through it, and I owe them for that. I also have other family members, kinfolk, united by blood, who have stood with me through trials, through challenges, through sometimes tragedy. My brother Sidney, but there are other folks like Betty Lou. There are other folks like Alanay. There are other folks like Terry. There are other folks like Valencia. There's other folks like Michelle. There's other folks like Reggie. There's other folks like Professor Roy Thomas. There's other folks like Wahaki. There are other folks like Muyinga Lumumba. There are other folks who, without connections of blood, through challenges and triumphs, have supported me, have held me, have reached out to me. Even when I didn't think I needed help, they helped me. Even when I didn't want to be touched, they touched me. Even when I wasn't able to support myself, they supported me. Even when I needed to be lifted up, they lifted me. And I owe them for that. Maybe y'all don't feel me this morning. Maybe you don't understand me this morning. But I'm a man who's in debt. And I'm in debt and I owe. Whether it be my nieces and nephews who inspire me, either it be my co-workers who I've had people help me to get jobs when I really needed it, whether it's people in the community who have been mentors and examples of what it is to maintain hope when it seems like it's hopeless. Now is the time for me to pay on that debt. And I believe that is what is compelled of me by the divine. Y'all might not have debts like that. Y'all might not know about what it is to owe like that. Yet I do. That's who I be. That's who I am. And that compels me to take the time, to use the time, to make the time to reach out and help the healing process, to help in the coming together of ourselves, to use the Nguzo principles and to work towards those goals of my life. That's who I be. Who do you be? Ashe, Ashe, and Aman.
Oh my goodness. Woo. Powerful, Baba. Powerful, powerful. Oh my goodness.
What time is it? What time is it? Be diligent as long as you live, always doing more than is commanded of you. He examined that passage. He could not say it all in one setting. He could not say it in a class with 19 individuals, but he internalized the scriptures. He internalized the message and he gave it to us today. What time is it? He told us not to misuse our time. And he gave us some basic things. Once time is gone, it's just gone. So now's the time to step forward. If you are sitting among us today, and you would like to become a part of us, You've heard a powerful message today from the heart, from the toes, going up the ankle to the knees, getting into the pelvic region and coming up through the solar plexus, through the heart, up the throat, up to the third eye and back out the mouth today. Give thanks for that message today. He told us about having a perspective of your heart, mind, and tongue. He told us about discipline and patience. And I'd like to add, Minister Mallie, that discipline is not the enemy of enthusiasm. That sometimes you have to have discipline in order to get the enthusiasm. What a powerful message today. I'm glad that I was able to witness, to be a part. And you know, sometimes we had the connection going in and out, but we were patient and we listened and we received our message today. Is there one that would like to come? Would you come today? We're here as a community, growing and knowing and seeking others of like mind to be with us as we restore ourselves to our traditional greatness, as we build a people and create community. Give thanks and praise, Minister Mallie, Minister Mallie, Minister Mallie, Minister Mallie, Minister Mallie. Thank you for that message today. Ashe.
Okay, all right, we are very powerful. And with that, I want to see if I can invite my dear brother David and my dear sister Lanice, if they would lead us in the Latrice, if they would lead us in the Black National Anthem. Ashe.
Ashe. Here. Ooh. Ooh. Go for it.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
Now unto them who is able to lift us up faultlessly before the throne on high, may they empower us to be a people with one aim,
one aim,
one vision,
one vision,
one faith,
one faith,
one destiny,
one destiny,
one love,
one love,
one heart,
one heart,
one God.
One God.
Let us call upon the name of that one God, as our ancestors and elders have done for countless generations, for time immemorial. Let us all say together, Amen.